So I'm dying to hear the story. Jason, welcome. It's great to have you here with us. And I would love for you to just kind of detail where you were and what was happening just prior to you having this shift of consciousness. So, welcome, Jason.
Thank you, Julie. This is my first time ever telling this story, so I'm very honored to be telling it with you. You've been a great help. Um, I would say my awakening happened in 2019. I was very overwhelmed. I felt like the weight of the world was on my shoulders. I looked back and I counted in 14 years, I lost 18 very close and dear people to me. Um, Seven of those were very, very dear best friends, some who live with me, some who live with my family, passed away. 16 of those 18 were totally unexpected. So it was a lot. And I've never been taught how to release that weight that I was carrying. And it truly became overwhelming just to even get by day to day. I would wake up in the morning, and the first thought in my mind every morning was, you should just get it over with, right? You should end it. Yeah, it's a lot. Not, I never followed it through, but I don't know where that thought came from. It was just I was so overwhelmed with life, and I had no way to deal with it. In the club, we're all brothers. We help each other. We'll help each other move. Someone passes away, we'll do fundraisers. We really go out of our way to help each other, but no one knows how to make that weight and that pain go away.
Mm.
So I was struggling with that quite a bit. At the same time, I was also struggling a lot with opioids. So, growing up fast, had a lot of car accidents, had a couple of motorcycle accidents. The doctor started me on opioids, and right around 2000, I started taking them every single day. And as I had more and more motorcycle crashes, the opioids prescribed got stronger and more in quantity. And then I think it was right around 2018, the laws changed. Seems like out of nowhere, they said, hey, you've been good. You've done everything we've asked you to do, but we're unable to prescribe this to you anymore. So it just seemed very arbitrary from my perspective. I've done everything they asked for. But my example, if you can see this is what they prescribed to me for a day, right? And then they'd say,
Oh,
instead of taking this, take a shot glass of,
yes.
the equivalent. So that obviously didn't work for me. I had tremendous, emotional weight and pain that I was carrying, plus physical pain from, all the crashes. So everything came to a head in 2019. I got really frustrated. I was angry at God just for letting all that loss happen to me, right? All my dearly beloved best friends, taken away. Almost thought I was bad luck, honestly. And in 2019, I decided I was pretty upset with the authority of the doctors making those changes. That wasn't going to work for me. I decided I'm going to white knuckle cold turkey the opioids. And in a very sincere moment, I just spoke out to the universe, whoever might be there. I said, I'm scared shitless. Please help me.
Oh, wow.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm
Yes.
getting the goosebumps right now. But it was very sincere. I think it was the first time I ever honestly asked for help. I'd been to churches and, done things like that, but never really opened up. So what
Can
happened? What,
can I just stop you there because
yeah,
there's a few things I wanted to ask just
yep.
for viewers as well. With respect to the opioids, was it OxyContin by any chance?
It was for a long time. It started off with Vicodin, and then it switched to morphine, and then it switched to oxycodone, which is, I think
Codone.
it's the exact same thing as OxyContin. It's just not time released.
Yeah, yeah. And then it was suddenly pulled. I think probably because there was, a lot of light being shown on the effects that it was having on people. I know quite a few people that became addicted through, they were given that medication to relieve pain and then, became addicted to it. And then it was pulled. So it created more problems because of that, because of the reliance. And then all of a sudden you don't have that that form of pain relief. I just wanted to highlight that. But so continue with the story.
Oh, that's a good point. And by doing that, it just really exposed the physical pain and the emotional weight and pain that I'd been carrying. And it was no longer okay just to stuff it down and stay resilient, right? It was just too overwhelming. I had literally no energy to get through the day and do my work. You know, I have a full-time great career, so definitely don't want to mess that up. Um, but yeah, so I asked for help, and immediately after I did that, there was a physical response in the physical world, kind of like, we heard you. And
Yeah.
so I won't get into the details. It's kind of strange, but after that, I closed my eyes and I was like, you know, thank you for hearing me. And I had my first ever vision within my own self of a being, kind of like, hey, we got you. And so I was like, okay, we'll see what happens. We're going to white knuckle this. I wouldn't recommend stopping opioids on a dime. That's very hard on the body, especially at high doses. There's things out there that can assist with that, but for some reason I'm stubborn and decided to go that route.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
That's hard.
yeah, very difficult. And so as I was kind of going through the struggles of dealing with that and the body not having that medicine anymore, my girlfriend at the time suggested, you know, why don't you do an energy healing? She has a friend who's gone through energy healing. It really helped her daughter. She's gone through and been trained. You know, why don't you give it a shot? And I had no idea what that meant at all. If I was in a better mind, I'd probably say it was BS. But
Yeah.
just to end the conversation, and because I was so desperate, I was like, okay, let's try it. Let's see what happens. You know, no expect. I can't be in worse shape, that's for sure. So I think it was that evening, about 24 hours later, the energy healing appointment was scheduled, and there was just a little bit of prep work, real easy to do. I did the prep, went into a room, lay down, just tried to quiet my mind. The body's very upset during this time. And I laid down and I just closed my eyes, trying to just calm down, relax a little bit, you know, not stress so much, not worry about all the what ifs, the bad things. And when the time came for the energy healing to start, I had closed my eyes, lay down in my guest room, and I saw these beautiful waves in my mind's eye of colors coming through. And I knew nothing about energy healing whatsoever. And the only thing I could compare it to is the Northern Lights, the Aurora Borealis. And just one color would come in, it would sweep through my mind's eye just like a wave. And it was the most calming, most euphoric feeling I've ever felt in my entire life. And I just sat there and watched, didn't want it to end for sure. And I watched as color after color after color after color came through. And I felt a lot better afterwards, internally, right? Like the anxiety, the what am I doing? Am I crazy? Really calmed down. The body calmed down a little bit, but you know, the body's going through it by not having that medicine anymore. Um, yeah, after that, I realized that all my beliefs, anything that I did believe, had been completely shattered. How can this lady who's 20 miles away from me put colors in my head, is what I'm thinking. And also at the time, I'm thinking, am I crazy? You know, I hadn't really been off medicine that long, so I'm not hallucinating. You know, this is really happening. So right then and there, I decided I really need to figure out, you know, what this is, what's this about. Never heard anything like it before, and really piqued my interest.
Yeah. So this was remote. This was a remote session.
It
That was
was,
wow.
yeah,
So that's quite the stretch, right? From, you know, never having experienced energy work before to doing it long distance. And, you know, and I loved what you said about in the first instance about praying, because that was my story too. I had a terrible back condition that was just agonizing with two bulging discs. I was on bed rest, couldn't, you know, any pain medication just wasn't touching it. And at a certain point, after having tried everything imaginable, I just gave up. I just prayed. And I said, if there is a God, if there
yeah,
really is a God, please please help me heal. And I promise I'll go to church and I'll start, doing the kind of
Yeah.
prayer work and all of those things.
Yep.
And I think what often happens to us is we have to be brought to our knees before we start paying attention to the truth of our beingness. So I love that part of the story. So
Yeah.
so where did you go from there? Obviously you were shown that there was more to life through these visions. So what was the next step?
Yeah. My literally my reality and beliefs completely collapsed. And my next step was reaching out to my ex's friend who did the healing, like, hey, tell me what this is. Like, and I had to go find out for myself. So fortunately, the teacher that taught her, she offers a free 2.5 hour class. It's called Your Hands Can Heal You. She's located out of Ontario, California. So there was no loss, just my time, right? Just go show up. And in that first 2.5 hours, she teaches you how to scan and measure energy, right? So you can measure, we all have a magnetic field around us. Science has proven you can measure that field with your hands. You can measure different energy centers. You can measure what food's good for you. So many things you can measure just in that one session. And I was like, okay, this is the real deal. I'm not crazy. This works. And so I signed up for pretty much every course I could. So I started with level 1, which is basic healing. It's 8 hours for 2 days just for that basic class where it's teaching and practicing. And then I took the next class right after that, where it's advanced, so more complicated physical ailments where you can use colors to speed up the healing. And then the last course that I've done recently was level 3, which is around mental and emotional. It's called pranic psychotherapy. So that really helps with kind of men. We just stuff things inside, we bury it, try to stay resilient, stand tall, and keep moving on. But that protocol and that training really helps people to release that, right? So you can have brothers distract you, or friends distract you, family distract you, but you always kind of have that seed within our magnetic field. And if you can clean that seed out, that'll really help that program not to come back and influence you further.
Yes, yes. So after the first kinds of visions and all of the then shifts of energy and all of that, did that continue? Has it been a progressive kind of process for you?
Yeah. Yes, I think at first it was very in your face and very obvious. I think there's times where things are even more subtle. So when you find that stillness that you helped me find, right? This place of stillness within yourself where you can just go and be and everything's great. You start to notice subtleties. So I haven't had any visions per se like I did during the awakening, but more unbelievable things have shown themselves. So you start to see energy and what's really happening in nature, things like that. So yeah, it's definitely progressed. But the initial images, that was kind of I think to get me motivated in this direction. Yeah.
Yes. And what about your pain? Do you still have pain or are you okay?
Yeah, for the most part, it's gotten a lot better. I mean, I had bulging discs in L4 and L5, and I had a fracture that healed wrong. S1, there's a fancy medical name for it. I can't remember it off the top of my head. But yeah, that's gotten a lot better. I have plates in my wrist, broken nose, broke my heel. So I'm doing pretty good, but I'm not perfect walking on water or floating around, but definitely a lot better. Yeah.
Right. And you're able to manage the pain without relying on heavy medications, right?
Yeah, I do. I kind of go a couple weeks without, and then maybe take it for a couple weeks. I haven't completely detached from it. Yeah.
Right. But at least you can function well
Yeah.
enough, right?
I,
Without.
I never could have imagined not taking it for weeks at a time, for sure.
Hmm. And I think it'd be worth sharing with viewers. What kind of spiritual practices do you have? Do you have any that kind of help you connect in and, stay focused and centered?
Yeah, absolutely. Through this training I did, which is called pranic healing, they have a beginning meditation that they recommend to everyone. It's called Twin Hearts. And so the purpose of doing that is you bless the world or your family, your friends, your loved ones. And as you're blessing them, that energy is coming through you. So you're cleaning and purifying yourself, but you're also blessing the world. So that really helps. I've done that ever since 2019, I'm guessing, inconsistently at first, but very consistently now. And then I like to sit in silence as well, go in nature and just sit and listen to nature and go within.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So you don't. It's not like you sit. You don't have a formal meditation practice. Being in nature is your meditation practice, right?
Yeah. Night after work, I do that Twin Hearts meditation where I bless the world and bless my family, bless my friends. It's like 20 minutes long. So that's my consistent everyday spiritual practice. And then additional things that I do on top of that.
Right. And yet, as I've said before here, and I know, you and I have had that conversation, it doesn't have to be a formal practice, right? You can utilize any practice or exercise that feels natural and comfortable for you in any condition. It doesn't have to be seated for an hour or 2 hours a day or something. You can just be doing practices while you're, cleaning your apartment or your house or something, and just keep it really, really simple. So, coming back to where I started actually in the introduction with you and your interest in being part of the motorcycle club, do you still meet the guys that are part of those groups, or are you connected with them in any way?
Yeah, I still am connected with some of them. I was a club president in Southern California. So I grew up in Oregon, eventually moved down there to finish college, and just built a tremendous bond over 10 years that I was with those guys. And so now I'm back up in the Northwest in Oregon. My dad's battling cancer at this time. But yeah, I still stay in touch with them. They're still going strong, and yeah, a lot of great guys.
Yeah. I mean, I'm wondering. I've never, been a guest or whatever,
Yeah, you
seated
should try
on a
it.
motorcycle. We don't see too many of those in the Bahamas because the roads we don't have. Well, we've got one highway, but you see a couple, but not too many. But I wonder oftentimes with guys and with women who are kind of motorcycle, motorbike obsessed, that need or that drive or that interest in being on a bike and going full speed ahead and just allowing yourself to just go with it and to feel the wind on your face, to look at the sky, to get that sense of freedom is really a form of meditation as well, right?
Say, I
Because
would say you nailed it. Yeah, that was
uh,
the closest thing that you could get to freedom is just
yeah,
being out there with your friends. You're not in a box, you're
yeah,
traveling fast.
yeah,
The thing that I loved is being a president means I got to ride in the very front and lead the guys.
yeah,
So sometimes we'd have hundreds of us riding somewhere, right? The beach, the canyons, to a pub, get
yes.
lunch. Yeah.
Yeah, because and the thing is you have to be completely hyper vigilant. So you got your eyes on the road, but you're also getting a sense of the space that you're in, that you're moving in. So it definitely is a form of meditation. And the thing is that there can be a view that guys that belong to motorcycle clubs are kind of hard and gravelly, and you don't mess with them and all of that. There's all of these ideas, but at the heart of it, there's this deep longing to know and to connect and to be in the silence within one's being and to find that freedom there. I guess
You're
that's what I'm
spot on.
intuiting.
You're spot
That
on.
Yeah, because there's a softness there too, right? So there's definitely that side of the seeking through being part of these kinds of clubs. And I often wonder whether you could introduce like little visualization or meditation to these guys, and I'll bet you they would be open to it if you knew how to utilize the right language, I'm guessing.
Absolutely. In the club that I was in, we had bylaws. We had, emergency contact info, what to do with your phone if something happens to you, all this info. So in those environments, your brothers are very trusted and very respected. And if they're not, then they're on their way out the door, or they're not going to be hanging around with us anymore. So I think, honestly, I just don't think anyone knew anything different.
Right.
So yeah, happy
Yeah.
to share this information with them. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because it's a bit like a spiritual community, I think. There's that, like you
Yeah,
said, brotherhood, that sisterhood, that, support system that is there. And this feeling of wanting to connect in with that quality of freedom
yeah,
that you would find if, when you're on the road and traveling and all of those things, which is really beautiful.
yeah. Just you
Yeah.
can't be distracted when you're writing, right? Your mind really does have to be kind of where are you going, especially when you write in formation. You're really close to the guy in front of you, 6 feet tops. So you can't be daydreaming, that's for sure. So you do get a sense of the stillness, and I think that's why so many men really enjoy that. That's as close as you can get to silencing the mind, forgetting about all the weight that you're carrying, all the losses that you've had, right? All those guys have a similar story.
Yes, yes. So, as a matter of interest, all the people that you started your story with that have passed away, were they through motorcycle injuries and deaths, or were they all completely
Great
different?
question. Yeah, all different. The first friend I lost got stabbed in a fight, and he was in a fight with two guys, and the girlfriend ended up stabbing him. And I've
Mm.
never heard of that before, right? You think only men are the problem, but surprised him. My very best friend and my goddaughter's father in 2004, similar situation. He hurt himself. He was on opioids. It was his birthday, so he went out drinking while taking opioids, and he ended up getting too relaxed and stopped breathing. Um, that one crushed me. It's just he lived with my parents. My parents were very kind and let friends come and live with us if he lost his mom, so he could stay with us. And I remember visiting him in the hospital, and he was on life support. And I came up from California because I was in school at the time. I remember just kind of yelling at him, like, get up. Like nothing looked wrong with him. Looked like he could just stand up and walk right on out. And he hadn't breathed in so long that he wasn't going to wake up. They did a bunch of tests and determined that his brain had no function whatsoever. And he was no contact with his dad, and his aunt, who he's really close with lived out of state. So I remember the family asked me, being the best friend, would he donate his organs? And I was like, man, this is way too heavy for me to think about. And I was like, yeah, he would. So he ended up saving a lot of people that way.
Oh,
Um,
oh,
I've had friends shot in the face come to my house. Some through motorcycle accidents, some through drugs, some checked out of life early on their own.
yeah.
Um, yeah, a lot of the guys too in the clubs tend to be from the military, so they've kind of missed that camaraderie and the brotherhood, and they've seen a lot of stuff, and they've been through a lot of stuff. And I remember one friend in particular who was a member of my chapter, and I just wish I could help him. Things would set him off, and it was so automatic. Like he's not making it up. He's not overthinking it. It's just loud noises take him right back to some very bad times. And there's nothing I could do to help him.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
And there's not, well, I don't know in the US, but it's certainly, I know in the UK, there's not that much support for people that have been in combat situations and then try to return back to normal kind of civilization. It's really difficult.
Some
Uh,
campaigns in the United States about, 22, I think the number is 22 uh, military members pass each day. And so I think they have a campaign where they try to offer support, but I can speak for myself as a man. We weren't brought up to express our feelings at all. And I'm very thankful for the approach that I found because I didn't have to dance around doing an interpretive dance with a crystal in my belly button, right? Like I didn't have to
Yes.
do anything. I just had to be open to it. And I appreciate that. So hopefully
Yeah.
this will,
Yeah. Because that, what you just said makes all the difference. If it's too out there and too woo woo, especially for like a man's man and somebody who's been in the military, that is just not going to vibe with him or her if it's a woman who's been in active service as well. So trying to find the right doorway, the right fit can be really difficult, you know and using the right language as well that is accessible to someone who's had to face these kinds of traumas, is really integral. Otherwise, it's just not going to land. It's not going to happen. So you really did get lucky, and because of that, you'll be able to help people, right? Because you know what language to use as well.
yeah.
Because it's all about right language at the end of the day. Yeah.
It's and yeah, having people's trust and respect, right? The community knows you, your reputation precedes you. So having a good reputation and knowing the right language, I think I think I'm now in a place and ready to try and share that with people that are interested.
Yes. Yeah. And I'll bet you've already had people reaching out to you from the clubs just to be able to share. It's not necessarily that they are speaking about a longing to know God or to
Yeah,
awaken or whatever, but just to have a safe landing space where they can have a conversation with you, I'm sure it is already happening and has been.
yeah,
Right.
absolutely right.
Yeah, because it's your state. Once you have a shift of consciousness, your state speaks for you, even if you're not, speaking about anything to do with spiritual awakening. And there's an implicit trust that can be felt by people. And so they feel comfortable sharing, and they feel comfortable telling you kind of what's kind of weighing them down. And it can have a huge impact on them. Just also to listen and to bear witness to someone's pain does make a difference. So it feels to me like that might be your calling going forward, to work with people who, are dealing with the gritty side of life, and have the kinds of challenges that you had to face and overcome. And you know they have a safe place to go with you. So do you feel that your next kind of steps are being drawn that way? You're being called to do that kind of work.
That I've had opportunities to practice that healing that I've learned already. I think the most severe thing that I've assisted with was a friend's husband had a stroke, so I was able to help with that immediate, need as he's going to the hospital. Um, yeah, I definitely do feel led. I do have a full-time job or a career. I'm responsible for the sales systems for my organization. Supports 2,500 people, so there's a lot there. But yeah, I definitely would like to be available, and I know the pain, I know the weight, and I know how good it feels to let that all go, to feel so much lighter, to joke around. And you're exactly right what you said about, the external and being trusted is my inner state changed and become lighter. The impact that had in changing my outer world and relationships was very noticeable. And it's just amazing to sit back and watch and see how that all unfolds.
Yes, without having to do anything, right? It just
Exactly.
happens of its own accord. It's really organic the way it all kind of flows, and people come to you and start sharing and speaking. And also you can recognize if there's an opening and they would be ready to listen to what you might have to share with them about, self-recognition and having a shift of consciousness. It you just get this kind of resonance, this feeling that it's the time to say something.
Yeah.
And it's really magical when that happens, right? It's really great. Yeah.
You clearly see when people could use help, right? I've been there, so I recognize what that looks like. I think I hesitate to push. I don't want to, impose anything on you, but yeah, if you're ready, you can relate to feeling that way. I'd be more than happy to help. I'd be honored to help. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, do you think and I'm just kind of throwing this question out for the sake of viewers as well, but the weight of the world that you were feeling and the grief you were feeling, when all those people passed away and all of that, was that mostly grief related, or was it this deeper longing, or what how do you kind of define that?
Oh, that's a deep question. I think that, yeah, it was emotional. But at the same time, there was also a longing. I'm glad you asked that. Made me think of something. There was a sense of there has to be more uh, within, deep within. And, at the time before I had my awakening, probably 2012 ish, 2011, I had everything. I had a house, I had have a great paying career, nice car, motorcycles, single, access to nice ladies. And I was so unsatisfied. And those were the times where I'd wake up with those negative thoughts. So I'm just, you could have everything in the world, accomplish your goals, and still there's this sense of just complete unsatisfaction that
Yeah.
there has to be more, or this is pointless.
Yes. I mean, I really resonate. I felt like that since I was a kid. I was always feeling discontent and I didn't quite know what it was, and I was always looking for something more. And even when I came to the Bahamas, surrounded by luxury and beauty and the palm trees and the ocean and just this amazing environment, there was still discontent. There was still this longing to know, this deep kind of need to find someone or something that could prove that, what I was perceiving was accurate, that there really was more to life. And I think this is it's a common pain that people feel, actually. It's a very deep longing to know God or source or whatever you want to call it,
Absolutely.
and connect in with the vastness and to recognize the truth of one's authentic being. So what you shared is really on point. I think for most people, that's really the crux of the whole spiritual search, and it's true for everyone, And oftentimes we're really pushed into doing the work and praying to God to help. And like you and I, we had to be brought to our knees to get to that point. But there's always an amazing response. So how beautiful. It's wonderful. Well, yeah, it's amazing. So Jason, thank you so much for sharing your story. I see that we're coming close to the end of our time together. But before we head off, would you like to let people know where they can find you if they want to reach out to you?
Created Instagram just for this reason and occasion. It's men_heal_men. So you can DM me there. And if you don't have Instagram, you could email me at jasonlyman31@gmail.com. I'd be happy to help in any way. Yeah.
Brilliant. I'll have that information in the show notes, but I just wanted to let people hear you share your contact details. So Jason, thank you so much for this conversation. It was really great, and I'm sure it will touch many people who are hearing it, especially those people who have suffered loss and have been struggling with as you said, the weight of the world and feeling like they have nowhere to turn to, and trying to find deeper connection with life. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time to join me today.
Yeah, appreciate it.
And thank you, everyone. As always, I really appreciate you too for being here, for whether you watch the live or the recording. Thank you so, so much. Again, I really appreciate you taking the time. If you haven't subscribed, you know what to do. And if you'd like to share this with any of your friends or family members, again, you know what to do. So thank you so, so much. Take it easy, be well, and bye for now.